So, how are you, sir? How has the year started?
It's been good so far. The ending of last year was pretty intense. I did so many things at the same time. I started doing the press for the new Night Flight Orchestra album. I was producing the vocals for the Haunted album. I also prepared the renovation of our kitchen, which has been going on during Christmas, and also did Christmas shows in Helsingborg and Gothenburg together with Mickey D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he couldn't do the two last shows. You've probably seen the news that he got sepsis, and it was
Yeah,
really scary. Yeah, it was really bad. But it seems like he's recovering quite
he's
well.
getting back
But
on track, so
yes,
good.
yes, yes, yeah, for sure. And but yeah, it's been a crazy ending of last year, and the start of this year has been good so far. Pretty busy, but not too crazy. So
So,
I
how
managed
would
to
you
relax a
sum
bit.
before we get jumped into this year? How would you summarize the year, the last year for you? How was it overall?
Yeah, I mean, incredibly busy. We did a lot of things. We went to South America for the first time with the Night Flight Orchestra. We did a bunch of festivals, but also composed this new album, which took some time. It's been quite a journey, the passing of David and everything, and having to sort of regroup and find the joy in music again. And we had to dig really deep with this album and take our time. And but I'm just happy to see this album being released very soon. It's been quite a journey, a very exciting one, but also tough at times. But I mean, the result is just an explosion of emotions for sure. And I'm really proud of it, and so is everybody else in the band. So we can only hope that the people listening to it are really gonna feel that presence and sincerity.
Give Us the Moon, and
Yes.
January 31st, it's gonna be released. So, like
Yeah.
you said, you had a member passing, which is obviously a very sad thing, but how was
Yeah.
it to sort of like get back from that? He was the founding member with you, so obviously quite
Mm.
important piece of the puzzle.
Yes, it's been quite a challenge, but I mean, the guiding star was really to show all the doubters that we can still pull it off, and to make ourselves proud, and but also David proud. Wherever he is right now, I really hope he can see us and somehow hear what we've been composing. And that we're really carrying this legacy with pride. And I don't think we could have done a better job than we did with this album. So it's something to be really proud of. But it was not easy. It was something that we had to regroup and go to the same studio that we always recorded, but except there was no David there. But he was very present. It's like everybody could sort of see him walking around in the corridors in his underwear drinking a beer. So it's like you always used to do. So we it became in the end a very much of a celebration, and we had so much fun recording this album as well. And I think you can hear it. But I think it's also very multi-layered, emotionally, I would say. But overall, a very empowering and uplifting album, I would say.
So did it change like the dynamics of the bands when David passed away when it comes to like writing this album? Did you had like a new bunch of people or other guys more involved or
Well, I mean, some things change. I mean, it's mostly been me and Sebastian writing the songs. I mean, been written quite a bit before as well on the past albums, but I guess we needed to sort of tap into David's world a bit more because he had a very special way of writing, and expressing himself, and that's something that we felt that we wanted to carry on without having to sort of have David too much as a, how can I say, a cane, like we needed to start fresh, but we also wanted to tap into his world and broaden our uh sort of horizon when it came to composing, and I think all those elements that he had, that was important in his songwriting, I think are quite present on this album. And it's quite interesting how you realize, I mean, I knew we were close, but you sort of realize that even more when he's no longer there, when you start composing and you feel that he's so present in what you're doing, and it's not a matter of copying what he was doing. It's just I don't know. It's like it's almost being channeled through your fingers when composing. It's a
But
very
you were with him in the same band for like what, 15 years with band,
yeah. I
so
mean, both
obviously
in
quite a
Soilwork
long time.
and yeah. True. But it's like some things you just can't fake, and I think I guess we also should not underestimate ourselves too much. Me and Sebastian, and also the addition with Rasmus, who has also contributed with 2 songs on this album. And
Yeah.
that also I'm sure did something for the overall sound and compositions. So I think this is a sign of strength in many ways, considering what we've gone through, and it's been quite an experiment. But now we know that we could pull this off. I mean, I had a notion, but we needed to go through this, and we had to dig really, really deep. Create the best possible album we could ever do, and I think here it is. We couldn't have done anything differently. So, and that's a great feeling in itself.
So do you normally like discuss it, that what kind of like direction you want to go with each album, or do you just like write songs and what happens, and that's the magic part of it? Or
Yeah, I mean, usually it's quite spontaneous, and with this band, it's sort of like a anything goes band. You can do so many things. You can move between different genres, even on the same album, and I think you get pretty high on that fact, that you can do whatever you want, and sort of make it into our own in the end, and.
is that sort of like also very like relieving feeling that you don't have any boundaries with the music?
Yeah, very much. And I think that's also, that's what does it in the end. Not saying that just because you can do whatever you want doesn't necessarily need to means that it's going to turn into something great every time, but most of the times I feel it does, because I think there's this musical communication between us as well, that it's just working, and there's this silent vision that keeps evolving and sounding like us, and a lot of people are mentioning it. I've done quite a bit of interviews by now for the new album, and a lot of people say that the Night Flight Orchestra ID is getting stronger and stronger. You can hear it right away when it's us. So I
But do
mean,
you
that's
felt that you've already found it like with the previous albums, or do you feel that here you are like with the most like strongest, I don't know what's the correct word for it, but like ID in terms of the band?
yeah. I mean, that's a constant journey, and it goes on, and I don't really see the end of this band, because it's there's really no limits to what we can do. It's very much of an over the top band, but for the right reasons. It's not about showing off, or it's just there. All the elements are there, and they're there at our sort of for us to use whenever we feel like it, and that's a fantastic feeling, and I feel blessed being able to play with such great musicians, to have that feeling that this journey is never ending somehow.
Do you feel that you sort of also need two outlets, that you need Soilwork for the other outlet and this for
Mm.
the other to feel sort of complete as a musician?
Yeah, and I mean, this is gonna sound weird, because I mean, Soilwork has been with me for such a long time, and being a musician in the sort of extreme metal world,
Yeah.
you feel sometimes like you're in a cage, but I actually enjoy being in a cage sometimes. Like, this is what you have, this is what you have. This you can still develop it, but only to a certain level, I feel, and that's fine, you know. And so if Soilwork is the cage, and Night Flight Orchestra is the open field, and that I love switching between those two things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you need sort of like both worlds in a way.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
basically experiment more with Night Flight and then you go straight on with Soilwork.
Yeah, but I mean, with Soilwork, I mean, I feel that we've done a really good job at evolving as well, and
Yep,
developing extreme metal in many ways, and I think it's a very multi-layered band as well.
yep.
But it's still sort of in a cage, and that's totally fine with me. And there's so many things you can do there as well. You just feel a bit more sort of contained in a positive way somehow.
So you mentioned that you've been in Soilwork for many years, but actually
Yeah.
this year will be your 30th year in Soilwork.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
formed the band like late 95.
very late, yeah, very late 95. Some people say beginning of 96, but yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, 30 years, that's just insane to begin with. Yeah.
And Stabbing the Drama will turn 20 years.
Yes, correct.
So how does it actually feel to reach sort of like milestones? Do they mean anything to you, or do you want to look more like always forward, or how are you as a musician?
Yeah, I mean, I like to look forward. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm super proud of what we put out. But going back and listening to old albums, it's like a testimony in a
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
and but very often you feel like, oh, I could have done that so much better today. It's like I guess it's a lot of musicians can
If you
relate
are a
to that.
perfectionist, I guess that's when you
Yeah,
have already finished the album, you would do
yeah,
something differently.
I know. Yeah, I for each and every album, it's like, I listen a lot to it after it's mastered, and then 2 months later, it's like, oh no, I should have done that. It's like, why didn't I do that? And yeah. So, but then, give it another month and I'm completely fine with it. So you go through this sort of process, of, I don't know, getting used to certain things, but then in the end, you really treasure those moments because you captured something there and then. It's like it's a testimony in that sense, and each and every album reminds you where you were at that time in your life. So
But you are not big into
there's
like playing anniversary tours, or like revisiting old albums or anything like that.
yeah, I mean, we've been asked so many times, and I guess we've been a little bit stubborn in many ways, like, no, everybody else is doing that, so we're not going to do it. But it's I don't know, there might be something, but I mean, for stabbing, being 20 years. I mean, we should do something, but what we're gonna do, I'm not quite sure. If we're Well, we have talked about it, so
If you could witness yourself some album played through like entirely, like whatever album in the world, what album would you like to see performed?
I'm gonna sound like a very old man, but I would love to hear Royal Scam by Steely Dan in its entirety. I
I
love
would have
that album
I
so
would have
much.
probably picked myself Nirvana's Nevermind.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many albums, of course. I mean, I've never been much of a Nirvana fan, but even I would have loved to see that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, Alice in Chains, Dirt in its entirety, that would have been a fantastic. Yeah, there's a lot of albums that would have. Yeah,
Let's get still for a while back to the upcoming Night Flight album. So were
yeah.
there like lyrically some kind of theme around it, and where have you gathered the lyrical ideas for it?
There's quite a bit of songs on the album that are real life stories. We have Paloma, which is a liberation song for a friend of ours who's a stewardess who started to date a pilot. This is real life story, and he didn't treat her very well, but she kept coming back, and I got so frustrated I had to write a song about it. So this became her liberation song. Her name is not Paloma, but on a flight home from Alicante last year, where we played a festival with Night Flight Orchestra, there was a stewardess named Paloma on that flight, and I was just thinking, that's the name. That's the name. That's the song. And then I started writing the song in the air, and wrote the lyric.
It's
So
it's
that one
it's
is quite
weird how
special.
like musicians' minds go like from
Yeah,
place A to place B, like you just explained.
yeah, yeah. It's fun. It's so much fun. It's a really special feeling. And so that song means quite a lot. And there's actually a twin song. It's Paloma, and then there's the stewardess, Empress Hotmess, and the Captain of Pain. Is actually about the pilot.
Okay.
Yeah, and his sort of story. And or how I pictured it to be. I mean, I don't know the guy, but I'm sort of playing the hobby shrink and sort of picturing what he is going through. He's up there in the air, and he doesn't know how to love, and yeah. So these are twin songs. Then there's another good example. There's Runaways. I used to live in Toronto for 4 years. It's sort of my makeup song with the city of Toronto. I haven't really been back since I left in 2015, and it kind of ended bad with a relationship. But I love the city, and it was a very special time. So yeah, I felt like I needed to write a makeup song. Well, at least the lyrics. Sebastian wrote the actual music, but I wrote most of the lyrics. So it became a makeup song with Toronto, and I mean, so there's definitely a bunch of real life stories in there. Some of it is quite spaced out, like Cosmic Tide, and other sort of fictional stories. So it's I am, and we brought back a lot of the city names, street names, and yeah, names of people, and that's something that we've always had, but I felt like we were lacking a little bit on the Aromantics albums, and that's something that we wanted to bring back because it makes everything so much more exotic and sort of takes you even more of a journey when you listen to the songs.
Do you need some kind of like specific headspace for this band to write the lyrics compared to like Soilwork? Are you like in a different sort of like mind space or mood when you're doing them?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, the switch is just very easy for me. It's like,
Okay,
so I definitely know what hats I'm wearing, when I'm composing or writing lyrics.
but you cannot
It's
do them like at the same time. No, you need
no,
some
that's yeah,
flow.
exactly. Yeah, no, yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
But I'm never in a situation where I write a lyric and I decide after a while if it's for Soul Work or Night Flight. I definitely know from the beginning. So I guess in that sense, I'm entering, a little, dimension, I guess.
so before we wrap things up, a little bit about the year. So how does it look like for you?
Well, we're embarking on a European tour starting on 30th of January, starting in Holland, Tilburg, and it's going to take us through Europe. Fortunately, no finished dates yet, but that's probably something that we will do later in the year. It's in the plans. But that's what we're doing, going through Europe 3.5 weeks, and then we're doing some Swedish dates. There's gonna be a bunch of other stuff announced for the summer as well. So it's gonna be a fairly busy year, and we're just excited to see where this album is gonna take us. Where people that have heard it are really raving about it and are, they're really excited. So
It's solid album,
um,
very good one.
yeah, thank you. That makes me happy. So yeah, we're just as excited as everybody else, I guess.
Hey, thanks a lot once again for taking the
Thank you.
time.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully the year will be
Yeah.
very good for you.
Yes, I hope so too. And I wish you a really good year as well.